ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Draped in Gold with your boy, Jack Farmer, and his buddy, George Hermoza. Flobo Boyce is not on assignment. He's being lazy because it's his birthday. So why don't you do the old fella a favor and hit the like, comment, share, subscribe button. In fact, I think something that Flobo would really love for his birthday, George, is if everyone went on Apple Podcasts and left a 5-star review with a nice little message saying how much you appreciate the show. I think he would love that. Danny C in the chat doing the hero's work. Reposted this stream. What's up, fellas? So glad to see you all here. Chris Bricks in the chat as well. George, I haven't even given you a chance to talk yet. We're almost 2 minutes into the show. How you doing, fella?
Quick, somebody give me a number between 48 and 250.
7.
Between 48 and 250.
In the chat, first person with a number between 48 and 250, you get the answer. George will do whatever he wants with that. What do you do?
I'm gonna decide what is gonna be for dinner when. Let's see, 249.
249.
Let's see. We got. I mean, it's not really dinner. It's the yummy banana smoothie.
Oh.
Or is it smoothie? Yeah. I mean, that's not really dinner. It's maybe like after dinner. But let's just go like a random number.
223.
223. Maybe that's not going to be a dessert. Hopefully, it's not like a.
What,
another dessert.
Well, listen, if you're going to do this,
sweet
George,
sugar cream pie.
George, if you're going to do this, you got to follow through. You can't just not follow through.
All right,
we've given you 2 numbers. You got to have a pie and you got to have a smoothie. That's the rule.
All right, I flipped to a random page. 142. Today's dinner is going to be Oklahoma okra patties. I don't know what that is, but it sounds a little
okra is healthy.
Oh, and no.
Okra.
I do want to do something because I got my own little YouTube channel, just like Draped in Gold. We should just like make some of this. Like, do you think people would watch that? Just make random things from the JR's cookbook that came out in probably like 2001 or 2002.
I think
that I got for 50% off.
I'll have some okra burgers or whatever it was that you had there. Speaking of healthy, though, I'm into some. This is a little non-wrestling thing. I'm just going to put it over myself because I'm really excited about it, George. I get excited about other things too. And Faith Kipyegon is going to attempt to break the 4-minute mile. It'll be the first female ever to do so tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be watching it. She has to shave 7.64 seconds off of her best time, which is the world record. I was a track guy. I used to do the mile myself. My time, 4:52. Beat that hot shot. But wow. Faith Kipyegon, she's going to try to break the 4-minute mile, first female to do so. Are you excited about that kind of stuff, George, or am I on an island here?
It just makes me feel really slow because I'm probably like around 10 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a ways to go to try to beat that world record, but I'm excited. I like seeing those kind of attempts. I think we've all seen the world record attempt of like who can beat Mario Brothers the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't beat that game because the last level is just so like you got to go a specific way. I don't know if you remember, but it's always fun to see that. I really hope she breaks it. So I saw like a quote. I forgot where it was, and it just kind of goes to show because everybody likes to talk about the old school, and it's with every sport, including wrestling, right? Back in my day, Michael Jordan, the best of all time, Magic Johnson, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, but I feel like so many people are focused on the old school that they're missing out on a lot of greatness from today. And so I feel like if that were to happen, that just goes to show that still a lot of greatness happens, today. And I love to see her break it because we all want to, we're relatively the same age. I think we are, right? We're 29,
28.
Yeah,
well,
we're 28, 29. And I think we've had this conversation before, but we enjoyed watching Tom Brady because like, when's the next time we're going to see greatness like in real time, right? We heard about the Joe Montanas, we heard about the Kareems and the Wilts and whatever, but we weren't alive back then. We got to see in real time the greatness of a Tom Brady, of a Kobe, of a LeBron, et cetera, of a Miz, and it'd be really cool to see in real time records being broken.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that when some people they have a hard time letting go of their childhood heroes and know that today's athletes are better than ever before. I'm a big believer. Today's athletes are better than all the old ones, and guess what? Tomorrow's athletes are going to be even better. I want to give a shout out to Steve in the chat. By the way, it says hello, Jack. Just want to chime in and say hello, Steve. By the way, the dad of the legendary Jordan Castle, and if you're a fan of
Steve
independent pro
Castle.
wrestling, yeah, we always say Farmer and Castle. My dad is Dean Farmer and Steve Castle. We always say that Jordan and I say that our dads could be a buddy cop show with their names.
By the way, you want to hear a fun fact? Because we're just going to ramble today. Because
wrestling was okay. Jordan Castle.
Go ahead.
Legendary ring announcer and commentator for independent pro wrestling. That kid is going to be on national television. I told him to his face, I'm going to say it here on the show. He's very good.
First things first, though, get a haircut.
Me or Jordan?
Jordan.
I don't know. He can do some pretty crazy stuff with his hair.
Yeah. I'm maybe I'm an old school guy because I think right now you got like
you just talked about getting rid of all the old school mentality, George. You just had a rant about it.
I was pushing more toward how nice of a haircut that you have. But you want to hear
in that case, you make a good point.
But you want to, speaking of names though, and I think this is very fascinating because we've known each other since 2019, so it's kind of going on 6 years.
July of 2019.
Yeah, so almost 6-year anniversary. Hello, friendiversary, I guess you can say. When we brought back Jack. By the way, I had a dream. We're not even going to talk about wrestling. I had a dream, literally, like I think it was last night.
About me.
Well, not necessarily, but something but like about a night or two ago that like AfterBuzz was back in business. And I walk in and just like studio still the same, but little adjustments. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you guys were back in business. I just came to say hi. Like I didn't know you guys were doing it again, and I'm sitting there trying to find ways to get the rest. Yeah, just like because I pass by it here and there. And I'm like, oh look, the lights are on, but let's see if anybody's home. But I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. So I'm surprised we never have brought up in the last almost 6 years the fact that we have kind of the same name.
How?
Because George in Greek is farmer.
Oh, is it? I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't know how I never thought it because I remember we all looked through the baby books when we were kids or whenever we had a chance like I wonder what my name is. And George is Greek for farmer.
Wow, you learn something new every day. I do want to get us back on track real quick. Chris Bricks, by the way, says Jay versus Cody top 3 WWE match this year. That is high praise. We will talk about Jay versus Cody. I want to talk about one thing before we get into the meat and potatoes of the weekend wrestling, though. And by the way, we will end the show with our Night of Champions predictions. So get your pens out and get ready to get your predictions in if you're listening or watching. I want to hear what you guys think. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'm going to steal from Cheap Heat, the show that's on right now. I had it on before we went live. They were chatting about Peter Rosenberg and Stat Guy Greg were talking about the group chat, the pro wrestling group chat. And what I realized as I was listening to them talk is I need a group chat. I don't have a pro wrestling group chat. I have individuals I will text sporadically about pro wrestling, but I don't have a group chat. George, we need to get a group chat. And I want to know who are some of the folks that you would have or do you have in your pro wrestling group chat? And people in the comments section, what do you look for in someone in your pro wrestling group chat? Do you have a group chat? Let me know in the chat if you have a pro wrestling group chat and how it's going.
This is awkward.
Because I'm not in your group chat?
Because you're not. I mean, Flobo, Steve, Josh Tariff, like we're all in it. I thought you were in it the whole time, and you just don't. Oh, yeah. You just don't make your input.
Sure.
We should start one. But we need like a cool name though. And I don't want to be like anything lame, like, oh, the AfterBuzz World Order. AfterBuzz is so 2020.
The new AfterBuzz Order is what it would be.
NAO?
NADO? I don't know.
I don't know. Who would be in the group chat?
Yeah, Well, obviously. What do you look for? Who are some folks that you'd keep in your group chat?
So I think because we should have a group chat, but I one of the things I just want, like, because I think we're in a safe space amongst each other, where we
Hmm.
can kind of give these kind of criticisms and also like praises. And I feel like, and I feel like this is one of the reasons why I think me, you, Flobo, and a few others get along is because like we're all adults, right? We're not just going to
Hmm.
be like, oh, so and so was bad because this person, like, oh, like I've seen a lot of praise for the Miz today,
Hmm.
because especially with the episode of
Because of
Cody and
Kevin
Kevin
Owens.
Owens and how much they praise the Miz, and I've said for years, like the Miz has won the life in every single way, form or fashion, and just being able to like give our praise and having intelligent discussions, not just saying, oh no, he sucks, like no, like let me know why you think he sucks, and just, or something a little bit more constructive than that. And I feel like we can all do that. So that's one thing I would look for in a group chat, knowing that we can kind of be positive, not just be negative, but also like, hey man, that was a good match we saw last night. Man, what a great match. Oh man, I was actually shocked when that person came back, and wow, what is, little things like that, kind of popping in real time and knowing that. And then also like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I kind of have to have the group chat on silent, because sometimes things will get spoiled in the group chat. Then I was like, dude, I haven't seen Monday Night Raw yet. Like, what do you mean
Well, yeah,
CM
that
Punk is
defeats the
back?
purpose of a group chat. Is you want to talk about it as it's happening. You don't want
Yeah.
to talk about it 3 days later.
That is true. But I think it would have enough people where, yeah, I think that's one of the main things is like, how do you
Hmm.
have it react to it in real time, but also like, man, like thanks for spoiling it, you guys. I remember right when CM Punk came back, not even in a group chat, but my friend just texted CM Punk, and I was like, I had no idea. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, are you saying that he was there? Are you saying that he should have been there? So it just kind of,
To
it
be
would have been nice
fair,
to,
for like 10 years, people would randomly just throw
yeah.
out CM Punk, and you'd be like, okay, what is that? What
And
does
it's
that mean?
funny, like I didn't really know he was back until I go to watch Survivor Series on Peacock, and right under Survivor Series, it already had CM Punk's greatest matches, CM Punk's greatest promos, CM Punk's greatest hits, whatever. I'm like, oh, I guess he's back. So the whole night I'm watching it. Okay, well, how are they going to bring him back? Still great to watch, but it is a little bit different watching something spoiler free, as opposed to knowing that something's going to happen or somebody's going to come back. But yeah, I mean, if I were to put a group chat together, it'd be, me, you, Flobo, um,
Hmm.
Jimmy Corderas.
Jimmy Corderas would be fun to have on there, though he would probably be frustrated with all of our shenanigans.
Although, I mean, he's in Canada, eh? So like, do we have to be on like WhatsApp or something? I'm not a big WhatsApper.
Yeah, I don't know, but let's talk about what we just saw today in AEW. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite before we get into the WWE side of things. I want to talk first something that has been sticking in my craw, George Hermoza, and usually my craw doesn't get much stuck in it, but this week my craw was stuck, and I was watching Collision. I'm sitting there watching Collision, and Kota Ibushi returns
Mm-hmm.
on Collision.
On Collision.
Why? This is driving me like why is that not happening on Dynamite when the world is watching? Why is this happening on their Saturday show? I don't like to be the guy that picks nits with where people are putting things on their programming, but I feel like why not? That should like shouldn't Ibushi showing up be happening in the main event of a Dynamite? Shouldn't that be one of the biggest things that happens for the week in AEW? But it happened in the middle of the show on a Collision. It drove me a little nuts. What are your thoughts on Kota Ibushi coming back, and what do you think of his match tonight?
I feel like this is gonna be such an easy setup and just swing and hit a home run, because they want you to watch Collision. Yes, Collision is the B show, maybe even a C plus sometimes. But what's wrong with them wanting you to tune into Collision? Because a lot of great things does happen on Collision. That's one thing that's going to be, I'm sure a lot of people were saying that when SmackDown first started, right? Why is Rock and Triple H the main event of the first SmackDown, whatever, shouldn't these WWF championship matches be happening on Raw? Yes, but they want you to tune into SmackDown as well. So I feel like that's kind of, I mean, this isn't like a shotgun Saturday night, right? This isn't like a WCW main event or Velocity. Like this is literally still on Saturday night prime time cable television. So I did see a lot of that chatter on the Twitter about as far as like, wait, he's returning on Collision, but if anything, I mean, maybe not all of us, but I think it's going to make people want to watch Collision now because you don't want to be able, you don't, speaking of what we said earlier, you don't want to miss out on something big happening like that.
So I don't think that's how it works, though. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get the argument. And everyone in the chat, let me know your thoughts on this and where you park your car, because I'm like Saturday is a tough day for people. I think even if you have the best wrestling show every single week on Saturday, it's just gonna be tough to get people tuning into that regularly in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. People are out doing stuff, and so I feel like you're kind of battling against just the nature of humanity in that case. And to me, I say you should load up Dynamite and then have Collision embrace the B show, embrace being like, hey, these are the guys that aren't in the main event, but they're really cool to get to see. This is where you embrace Daniel Garcia getting dubs. You embrace Adam Cole getting dubs. You embrace the people who maybe this is where Chris Statlander gets to shine more often. We'll talk about her in a little bit, but maybe this is where those people who maybe don't get to get big wins on the biggest level, you put them here and you can give them a platform instead of trying to make it something that it's not. That's just my take on it. Again, I don't have to answer to TNT for ratings.
I'd like to think that I'd like to think that AEW execs are, whatever, all the people in charge had this conversation. Because I think that'd be smart to do, right? Hey, what should we do? Should we put him on Dynamite? Should we put him on Collision? Yeah, we can always have him on Dynamite, but Dynamite, there's already so much that happens. But let's, I'd like to think that they have these kind of brainstorming, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they do. But yeah, I do feel like you have to save something for Collision. It shouldn't just be like, hey, let's just present you great matches. I feel like there should be the occasional title change, which they don't have. There should be the occasional, return after a few years. It shouldn't just be like a recap Dynamite and hey, let's have whoever wasn't on Dynamite show up on Collision, because I do feel like there is something with Collision that, again, as of now, we can all agree it's a B show, but I'd like to think that there's still some kind of elements of it trying to be the A show as well. So I personally had no problem with it. I get what people are saying, but I think that you still have to keep Collision somewhat special on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, not to go back and forth, I think you could do that, though, if you use that time to feature Nick Wayne, Josh Alexander, a lot of the tag teams that maybe don't get a lot of time to show, maybe Anthony Bowens as he's trying to continue to grow, Max Caster in singles, those guys who just, again, aren't really getting time on Dynamite. That could be their time to showcase instead of putting in this massive return to show that a lot of people, it's just a battle uphill, I think, a Saturday night. And it's a good show to watch, but I don't think people watch it live as much. And I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. Everyone in the chat, let me know your thoughts, or in the comments, let me know your thoughts on Collision. Should they try to make it an A show? Should they try to make it great? But then we had some stuff that happened tonight, George, I want to talk about. Young Bucks looking like they're going to put their titles, the EVP titles, on the line against Swerve and Ospreay in a tag team match. Is this another set of titles, the EVP titles? I'm joking. That's not what it means. But
yeah, there were some rumors this week that I was like, oh, if one of those rumors was true, then somebody needs to get fired.
Yeah. Well, Young Bucks, Swerve and Ospreay. The reason I'm bringing this up is clearly this is just a storytelling mechanism, but I think the best thing in the world for the Young Bucks would for them to not be EVPs, at least on camera. What say you about this whole thing?
I agree. I think that it's a good way, because I just hate the way they kind of pick and choose, like, oh, I'm going to use as a EVP this thing, but so there's not really a lot of consistency. with kind of what they do as an EVP, right? Although I did think it was funny how they came out and said, "Oh, your match is going to be right now." The funniest part that I thought was great. I love Will Ospreay coming out, with he's doing the wrist tape and everything. Oh, cool, my match is coming out, and then Swerve comes out. He's, "Oh man, I got to put on my shirt," but then he takes off his shirt like 10 seconds later when the match starts, and I was like, "What? Come on, dude, make it make sense, bro." Um, but my only issue with this is, wait, hold on. Maybe I missed something. Is the match official or not yet?
I believe it's not official yet. They'll probably make him jump through some hoops first. But if they're going to tease it, then they've got to do it. Otherwise,
yes, they have to
lame.
do it. But also, what's in it for the Bucks if they win? So I'd like for them to establish that, because if I'm putting something on the line and I'm not getting something in return, there's no reason for me to accept the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna be in a hair versus blank match, like no, I want something in return if I'm gonna put my hair on the line.
Yeah, especially if you're the EVPs, where you could theoretically just make any match you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could say, not only am I not putting my EVP title on the line, but I'm putting your career on the line.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you want.
Hopefully it's like realistic though, because I don't want to be like, oh, if we win, then you guys can't team ever again. I'm like, that's dumb. Yeah. So I hope if there is some kind of stakes they're up against, I hope it at least makes sense to, enough to be equal on the same level as giving up their EVP status.
But yeah, it's definitely something I think they need to lose, because again, it's not even, I'm not talking about the way the company works, but just on screen, it's one of those things where if you have that power, then nothing really makes sense for you to do. And anything you ever want, you should be able to get. And anything you can't get, you should be able to just bully people into one way or the other. It's, it's one of the things they were able to dance around with Vince versus Austin, because Austin had the title and Vince couldn't get the title off him, so he couldn't fire him or do anything. That was a good, smart way around it.
Yeah,
but
he tried to always stack the decks. Like
always something that they couldn't ever, there's just nothing that ever feels like it fits. And in fact, I would say, this is me, I don't think that the Bucks are that great as bad guys these days. I think that they're people that are better as underdogs who are fighting for the heart of the company than they are as the cheeky bad guys. What's you?
I mean, I agree. I like that you brought up the Vince and Austin thing, because now, like, you think about it, he can't fire him because he's the champion, right? Because there's still that element of, you're the champion, so I can't just strip you of it to keep the prestige. But I am going to put up scenarios where it's going to make it easier for you to lose it, whether it's Vince as the special guest referee, whether it's going up against Kane in a first blood match, So I always like those elements of it. So I get, I totally agree. Hopefully it's something that kind of would make sense to the characters. But yeah, I mean, I look back on like the Young Bucks, especially like in PWG, when they kind of started doing a lot of heel stuff, and that is like night and day between them and now. I feel like it's more maybe like mocking, but again, maybe that's what they're going for, because you're not supposed to cheer the heel. It's kind of very like John Cena-esque, where like, yeah, he's not going to put on the great matches because you're not supposed to cheer for. He's literally trying to destroy pro wrestling. So that's not destroying pro wrestling if he's putting on great matches. Which we'll have a nice little prediction for his next match this weekend.
I have a comparison. The thing with the Young Bucks right now for me is I actually compare them, and this might send people off on a tizzy, but I compare them to Becky Lynch in a lot of ways, where I know Becky Lynch is very popular. People love Becky Lynch. But that's the problem. And I feel like when she acts like a bad guy and when the Bucks act like bad guys, I just don't believe it. I don't believe that. Wow. It feels very, they're playing the part instead of being that way. Like, I don't believe Becky Lynch hates people. I believe that she's a nice person. And same with the Young Bucks. I believe that they actually really care about AEW and they really care about what they're doing. And so I just don't believe what they're doing. And it just comes off insincere to me. I don't know. Is that fair to say?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I mean, obviously, I mean, I think you lost me with the Becky Lynch thing, because I think she is much better as a heel. I think she's much better in the
Hmm.
ring as a heel. I think
Hmm.
she's able to let loose a little bit more on the mic as a heel,
Hmm.
because I feel like as a babyface, she got a lot more repetitive. I feel like, and I said this back in 2019 when she blew up, but I feel like if you're going out there calling yourself the man, that's not really like a babyface thing to say, you know? Can you imagine like who's your favorite football player?
I would
Just
love it if Brian Bosworth called himself the man.
yeah. He wasn't exactly a babyface either though. But you know, like just imagine like somebody like, look at like the guy that just won. I know you're a little probably bitter about the Thunder winning, but just maybe a bad example. But just imagine if SGA, the guy that won the finals MVP, the league MVP, just won a title, comes out there and be like, yeah, I'm the best, I'm the man, I won. This goes to show that I'm the number one guy. He'd be a lot more hated. I mean, granted, he's a great guy.
I love it. When LeBron James wore the Ultimate Warrior shirt after beating the Warriors in the finals, I was like, yeah, let's
That
go.
was pretty good. But I disagree with Becky. I do see what you're saying about the Bucks. I do feel like there is something more to be desired when it comes to their heel run. It does feel a little bit more forced. But at the end of the day, it should be a great match. What we end up seeing in All In.
The speaking of the Supersonics and the OKC though, I do gotta say tonight on AEW Dynamite, I have a new favorite, and that's Kevin Knight, who said that the OKC have been holding the Supersonics hostage. Makes him one of my favorites. I think
Were they in
after
Seattle today?
they were in Washington. I don't think they were in Seattle.
How is no one gonna come out with an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey?
It was a missed opportunity for
Yeah,
sure,
come on.
especially someone like Ricochet. Seems like that'd be right up his alley,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what he does.
Especially with the reaction that Elias got a few years ago, and now fast forward to like literally this could have been the Sonics had they stayed in Seattle, you know?
Which would
And
have
who
been a
knows?
great promo in general. Yeah, anyways, Kevin Knight shouting out my Sonics and saying they've been held hostage. I appreciated it. Last thing about AEW before moving on to the WWE side of things. Just a real quick to kind of touch on, I want to touch on Athena. And she is on this forever championship run. And I believe that if Athena, going back to talking about Collision and where things are presented, if Athena's run had been on Dynamite, we would be saying she's the best female wrestler in the world right
Hmm. Yeah.
now. And I think it'd be pretty hard to argue that point. I think it's a shame that more people don't know how good that run has been.
Hmm.
But what say you about Athena?
I think she's great. I've always been a big fan of her ever since her Ember Moon days. I wasn't too familiar with her before WWE, just to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I saw, I mean, I thought she would have liked to see her have a longer run as NXT champion. I thought her and Shotzi were great. So just kind of going back to pre AEW ROH.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I would love to see. Always been one of my biggest criticisms, though, is that yes, we're seeing Athena a lot more in the last 2-3 weeks on regular television. But obviously, the biggest criticism was if we see Chris Jericho, who was the Ring of Honor World Champion at the time, how come we're not seeing Athena on weekly TV? You have to watch Honor Club. Okay, but the same doesn't apply for the men. And so that was always a big thing for me. So I'm happy that we're seeing a lot more of her now. There was a rumor that went around that, and I say rumor because I don't want to put validation into something that might not have been true about just chitter chatter. But there was a rumor that the original plan was Athena versus Ember or Athena versus Mercedes for All In, which I actually predicted myself because I thought, how big of a match can you get in Athena's hometown against probably the best women's wrestler today? And she's got the goal to prove it. But yeah, that would have been a big match. So I'm hoping that she still gets the big match. Probably she's going to be in the gauntlet, right? In the gauntlet Casino Royale, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But I would like to see her get some kind of spotlight in that stadium and Globe Life, as opposed to just being one of possibly 15 or 20 people that are just coming out with, kind of like a Royal Rumble thing.
One of the things that happened over on NXT, we're making the shift over to NXT now, is Ricky Saints is taking the world by storm over on NXT. People love him over there. But I want to have an argument with you. unless you agree with me, in which case is that. But Ricky Saints music. NXT versus AEW. Which entrance theme is better and why, sir? And everyone in the chat and in the comments, let me know what you think. Ricky Saints, AEW versus WWE music. We're just talking the music.
I'm a big fan of entrance music. I feel like it's nowadays in 2025, it's a bit of a lost art. You know, I feel like maybe not as much emphasis is put on the entrance music. So when you do hear a good one, it's like it sucks. It's like it's so rare nowadays, right? Like
Yeah.
when was the last time somebody? Now I'm sidetracking. When was the last time somebody had a brand new? I mean, I can think of one person that I mentioned last week. I can think of only like one person, but when was the last time that somebody had like a brand new entrance music and we're like, oh wow, what a banger this is? But unfortunately, I cannot say that about Ricky Saints. I think his music, and I thought the same thing yesterday. I'm like, man, like I really prefer his AEW entrance music. It just flowed a lot better. He was able to, and I always like it when they some kind of movement as they're coming out when they had the you know, when they would come out to their music or whatever. By the way, the person I was going to say is Blake Monroe. I think her entrance is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mentioned it last week. But yeah, Jordan Grace is horrible. But yeah,
Jordan Grace's music is horrible.
no, she's horrible. No, she's great actually. But yeah, like I said, I really prefer Ricky Saints'. Or I guess if we're gonna compare, I prefer Ricky Starks' theme to Ricky Saints.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I get what they were trying to do. They're trying to emulate the Ricky Starks theme with the NXT music, but it just doesn't hit the same, and it just doesn't feel. I don't know. I feel like Ricky Starks' music was like a banger, amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Theme, and this one, I almost would have rather they just did something totally different than try to copy it. But I can't remember what it starts with now. I know it used to be the Revolution.
The Revolution, something like that. Yeah, I liked it because like, you know, he played around with it. You know, when he would get on the corner and he goes dun 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 or something like that, or he'd do the little pose. But yeah, I didn't really see anything with that because like there's not really much to play with the Ricky Saints theme.
Yeah, it's very because this one still starts with something like that, but it's like the Revolution is on TV now, and it's like very like like the voice doesn't hit, and like
and I do got a bit of a hot
in
take
general, and so I'm just not. I don't know. I'm bummed by it, but
I do have a bit of a hot take,
and then we have a few things.
I mean, hopefully I don't get canceled. I'm not feeling his NXT run so far. It has not hit at all for me.
Well, this is a whole other thing, but NXT for me in general feels like it's just kind of been a mess lately.
How dare you?
Are you enjoying NXT lately, or is it just
I think there's a lot of hit or miss. When things are really good, the women's division, it's amazing. And I think there is a lack of, and I want to bring up something that we talked pre-show, but I can bring it up now, is Dark State. There was a lot of hype behind them, and I think they showed up at TNA actually. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow. But there's a lot of hype around them, like who are these guys? Who are these guys that showing up for like a second at the end of the show? Then they come in, and it just with the exception of Dion Lennox, who he's the only person that I knew, but I still don't know much of him aside from he liked to read, and now he doesn't apparently. This is one of those things where they really needed some kind of established talent. And I don't mean like a Ty Dillinger or Sean Spears, whatever name is, you know, like they do with the culling. They needed someone specific. The Shield was really special. And I know there's a lot of bit of comparisons because of the wardrobe, whatever, but they at least had like a CM Punk in their back pocket, right? Or vice versa, right? Because they CM Punk in storyline brought in the Shield kind of behind the scenes as well. So at least they had him, right? And they don't like Dark State is like kind of their own entity, and I don't think they are big enough to be their own entity. So that's kind of one issue that I've had with NXT. I feel like that the women's division is still. I'd like to see where it goes because, I will disagree with a lot of people that we like on Twitter, but they don't have the best women's division anymore. You don't lose Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, and Roxanne Perez in about a month and still be the best NXT, the best women's division in all of wrestling, right? So I'd like to see where it goes from here. Obviously, Jordan Grace is still there. She's apparently the Bailey of the group, since Bailey was there about a year after, or for another year after the other women got called up. I just thought about that. That's the comparison. Jordan Grace is the Bailey of the group.
I don't like calling them the new Four Horsewomen. I don't think it's fair.
Then what are they?
I don't like. I don't like it.
The new
They're four women's wrestlers that all came into NXT around the same time before going to the main roster. Like it was just because there's four of them doesn't make them like a four horsewoman. You know what I mean? But that's kind of my point into the where I say NXT is kind of the best right now. Is you look at the women's division, which you say is a highlight, and look, they've got the talent for sure, but like I look at it, you've got like Roxanne Perez, who was there, then gone. Julia, that was there, then gone. Jada Parker seems in and out of that world championship scene. Jordan Grace seems like she's always getting opportunities, but never being able to close the deal. Out of nowhere, JC Jane wins the championship. It feels like there's a lot of flux that's happening. Like a lot of people who are getting shoved right in to the forefront and then getting yanked away by being promoted or whatever the case is. And I feel that way with that's everyone. I said this last week too, but like I feel like there's all this TNA stuff happening. There's all this Evolve stuff and LFG stuff, and it doesn't feel like there's a core group of anything going on in NXT right now. But I do want to ask about one individual to you, George, before we move on, and that is Javon Evans. Javon Evans, who I think is the ripe old age of 17 now. I can't remember. He's very, very young. But what's his ceiling?
They're bouncing.
What's Javon Evans' ceiling? I have a very high opinion of this young man. I think that he can be a massive star. I compare him to a Jeff Hardy. I think in the way that he will grip the audience and have a great career, probably a better career because he's already plugged into the system at, again, 13 years old or however young he is. What are your thoughts on Javon Evans?
I really like Javon Evans, but God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Pro wrestling is, like, in my opinion, it's a very visual sport or visual form of entertainment. And one of the things I remember I noticed early on, especially when Adam Cole first started, because he showed up in NXT when Drew McIntyre was in the ring. And the first thing I noticed, I'm like, man, Adam Cole's a lot smaller than Drew McIntyre. How am I going to, suspend disbelief, whatever. So, and then we saw a little bit of that with Javon Evans and Randy Orton. He kept up by all means. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he didn't keep up, but like, I'd like to see maybe him get a little bulkier. Obviously, I'm not implying anything that he should do it in an unhealthy way, because there are many healthy ways to do it. But I'd like to see him get a little bit of bulk, because if not, then I feel like his ceiling's not going to be very high.
Well, before we move on to the main roster stuff, I do want to give a shout out. Danny C asks, Jack, do you have an entrance song at shows? No, I do not. I don't get any fun entrance music. And if I do, whenever I do, I usually just get some, what do they call it, royalty-free thing to come out to. But it's always fun when I get a little entrance. But it's rare. Usually,
do you shake everybody's hand when you go out there? Hey, how you doing? Hey, nice to see you.
Yeah, I like to shake everyone's hand. Usually because the show starts with me. So especially like at Santino Bros, like we usually do the thing where we start with me on the camera saying welcome to the show, that kind of stuff. So I usually don't get one. But Terrence Matthews also says, I loved Roman Reigns' first tribal chief entrance music. This newer version just doesn't hit the same.
See, and I like the second one. I love the second one. I like the extra drums that he does at the end. I love it.
Strokes and folks, as they say. Let's talk about the main roster here. I want to talk about King of the Ring. Now, we're going to do a predictions in a little bit, but earlier, Chris Bricks asked, Jay versus Cody, top 3 WWE matches this year. I want your thoughts on that match, as well as Orton versus Sammy. I thought was a good one.
They were both great. I mean, probably the best WWE match I've seen probably so far this year is that triple threat women's match at WrestleMania. But if we're gonna go ranking, yeah, I'd say it's safe enough. Jay and Cody. I'd rank that one higher than Sammy versus Randy. But yeah, I gotta agree with Chris. That was a great match that we saw on Monday. Probably one of the best matches. I mean, Punk and Seth was really good from the Raw on Netflix and their cage match. Man, they were all really good. But yeah, I'd say Cody and Jay, because there was really this true predicament of like or unpredictability is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Just because like man, we can see Jay winning and he can go on and face Randy and maybe get his rematch against Gunther. Man, but man, Cody versus Orton, and then how are they going to play it up? I mean, I'll save your predictions, but as of right now, I have no idea who's going to win between Cody and Orton.
It's going to be fascinating to see, and it shows just how powerful having two wrestlers who are closely tied together as far as their ability to win and lose, and some stakes can make a match incredible. But I want the real story from this week. We got to go all the way back to SmackDown. We got to go. We haven't had a chance to talk about this yet. I know everyone else has talked about it, but we get the chance to talk. And that is the John Cena presented by Slim Jim pipe bomb. George, I'm just going to let you run wild. Snap into it, as they say.
I heard this is the problem with group chats because I heard something happened. I didn't know what. I just heard somebody say, wow, what a man, best promo he's done all year. And I was like, wait, what time is it? Is this match not going to be that long? But as soon as I saw John Cena come out against or do the FU, he hasn't used that word in forever. The attitude adjustment on CM Punk.
I wish he called it the FU now that
yeah. Onto CM Punk. Can I tell you the first thought I had? The very first thought I had was, wait, wasn't it John Cena versus R-Truth when CM Punk did his pipe bomb promo in like a tables match? And I'm like, wow. And you know what's funny? I was there. I was there in Las Vegas. It's almost exactly 14 years ago. It was on June 27, 2011. June 27, 2011. And so I was like, man, I wish this. And then the second thought I wish this was next week. I wish, but it was, too close to the Night of Champions. So I know why they didn't do it, on this Friday, which I've got. It would have been great. It would have been exactly to the day. But yeah, then he started talking and I'm like, wait, he's going to do the promo, like pretty much line for line. So I was curious what he was going to do and say when, certain people came up. So I liked the pivot from there. But yeah, it was just like, wow, like Cena it just goes to show that he's just, I know some people already think he is, but at the end of the year, I think he might just end up being the number one greatest wrestler of all time because he just has everything.
In your opinion, who does he have to pass? I think I don't have him that high, but in your opinion, who does he have to pass to get to number one?
Steve Austin.
Steve Austin. Interesting. Yeah. Where do you have John Cena ranked now in your own personal list?
3 or 4.
Oh, so who else does he have to pass?
I got Sean as probably the greatest in-ring guy, and I think he was so good in the ring that not that he lacked mic skills, but it was that good where it kind of balances it out, right?
So you go Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels.
I think I'm back and forth between like Rock and Shawn, but Cena's up there. I mean, I
so Stone Cold, Triple H or Stone Cold, HBK, The Rock, give or take, and then Cena.
And then Cena, yeah.
Interesting.
I can go on and on. I mean, I've had arguments on why I think Cena's better than Hogan, and it has nothing to do with anything personal, obviously. But it just like people can talk about like, oh, Hulk Hogan, like, oh, well, he transcended wrestling. He brought so many people to wrestling in the 80s. He did. I'm not saying he didn't. So you're saying nobody can ever surpass Hulk Hogan because he drew so much business in the 80s? Like I'd like to think that at some point, I don't want it to happen. I'd like to think that somebody at some point will beat Tom Brady and 7 Super Bowl rings, that somebody at some point will beat Michael Jordan and his 6 rings. I'm not going to sit there and say it's impossible. But yeah, I think what Cena has been doing, and especially what he did with like US Open Challenge and being so much, kind of starting to wind down, but still putting out all these classics. Fast forward to his match with AJ, fast forward to what he's doing now, and just and especially with what he did on Friday, it's like, dude, like this guy is literally going to become the GOAT, and I have no problem dying on that hill.
I would say he's the number one WWE superstar of all time, probably, but because there's a difference, but. Yeah. I don't want to defend certain people on my list that I think are higher because they're jerks. But that said, we go into Night of Champions. Let's get into our predictions. You want to just do predictions?
We can do predictions.
Yeah, let's do some predictions. Night of Champions. Everyone, get ready.
But as promised, I was going to do a prediction for Evolution.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I tweeted out that we'd be doing Night of Champions predictions. George, so excited to do a Evolution prediction. Wants to predict the one match that is announced.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
JC Jane.
I could see that happening.
I think she defeats Jordan Grace.
Jordan Grace is always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think they've not built any matches to that show yet?
I think they're just waiting for Night of Champions to be done. We don't really see too often. And plus they still have NXT Great American Bash, which is like, are they not going to have any women's matches on that show?
Sounds like what they used to say about AEW shows not getting built up earlier, but
but were they so focused on having counter programming that we're like, oh man, are we not going to have any men's matches? But I do think, in response to your question, they're going to, because we don't really see too often matches get or a build for an event when there's another event before that event. It shouldn't matter because Evolution's its own event with women, so maybe there's some matches they can start building. But I do feel like we're gonna see a lot more of a push for Evolution starting on Monday.
Well, they'll only have 2 weeks, so they better start
3 p.m.
pushing.
Well, they have that, and I do think we're going to see maybe one more NXT match. We're probably going to see the debut of Blake Monroe on. We're probably going to see her against Fallon Henley, either at Great American Bash or Evolution. That's my prediction for that. Yeah, I think we're going to see Bayley in a triple threat: Bayley, Becky, and Lyra for the IC title. Yeah.
Let's talk about Night of Champions. Let's talk about what is turned into. It's interesting. I was talking to Flobo about this in my one-on-one group chat, in one of my 1,000 one-on-one group chats. It's weird. This card is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this weird part of me that still has this, it's in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't count thing, even though it hasn't been that way for years. But it's still just like ingrained into me. Do you get that feeling too? Like before we get into the show itself, like, do you still have a little bit of that? Because I still it's not been that way for years, but for some reason I saw that. Oh, it's greatest Royal Rumble. That doesn't really count.
There's still a little bit, but not necessarily because of the location itself. But I feel like because it's Saudi Arabia, the crowd is going to be like, "Hey, we like everything." I don't know. Because
that's okay.
Until we see, the Saudi Arabia crowd sing Randy Orton's song, like France did or whatever. And yeah, it's still kind of like hit or miss. But I just feel like as a crowd, as a wrestling crowd, might add, as a professional wrestling crowd, I feel like they're still a little behind than your traditional wrestling crowd. And that's why I don't always count it as, I guess the kids would say, as canon.
Well, this one I think is going to count, and it looks really good. I want to start at the bottom of the card. Sami Zayn takes on Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross has been getting a lot of support online lately, and Sami Zayn has been that guy that I think the world has supported for a very long time. Feels very much like these are two guys that whoever loses, the internet is going to be very upset, George.
This has been building for like a few months already, since before WrestleMania, because I think a lot of people thought this was going to be the WrestleMania match, Sami versus Karrion. With that said, yeah, this is a tough one because you have all that momentum that Karrion has, and everybody's clamoring for him. Push Karrion, we want Karrion, all that jazz. But then you have Sami, who's like, you're going to be a future world champion, and then you can't have him lose against a guy that's only had one match. But before I say the actual prediction, this is kind of a big moment for Karrion Kross, right? Because you have all this fan support coming his way, and a lot of people saying that give him more TV time. So this is kind of a little make or break for him a little bit, don't you think?
No, for Karrion?
Yeah.
It could be. It's weird because he hasn't had many matches. He is in that, we always say at the end of the day, you got to get dubs. It doesn't matter how good you are, how much people like you. If you lose all the time, or if you're not getting wins, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I kind of think he needs to win here, unless they've got some really big story lined up for him or some really big thing that he can do afterwards. But
I hope so.
I, I, I
But
think,
as far as like the office goes, like I feel like whether he wins or loses, I feel like he needs to show out.
yeah, I think he definitely needs to show that he's worth all the attention that the IWC is giving him. And I think I'm actually a big Karrion Kross fan. As far
Great
as
guy, by the way.
yeah, I was gonna say what really made me a fan of him was actually his interviews and things that I saw him when he wasn't in the ring. Is why I kind of became a fan of him. So I'm rooting for him. I think if I'm making a prediction, I do predict Karrion Kross to win.
I'm gonna go with Karrion as well.
I think that Karrion, the story is better if he wins. If he loses, then Sami Zayn's like, well, I beat you, on to the next thing. And what is the next thing? I don't know. And then Karrion Kross, what's he going to do? Keep going, well, listen to me. No, you lost. So he's got to win so that when Sami Zayn then starts questioning himself, Karrion Kross will be like, listen, if you want to win, you got to listen to the evil guy. So I think Karrion Kross wins.
I think so too.
Rhea Ripley against Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. George, I'll let you make the prediction on this one first. Any thoughts on this one, the build? And I got a feeling, maybe I'm wrong, that the Liv Morgan injury maybe had a little bit to do with this one. But what do you think? And any thoughts on the Liv Morgan?
I don't think it's had much to do with it because I feel like this has been a long time coming for Rhea and Raquel. We saw them, come to blows back in NXT, and I think this has been a long time coming for the main roster. With that said, I do see Roxanne getting involved, and thus costing Rhea, which we're gonna see Raquel raise with the arm raised in Night of Champions.
You think Raquel's going to get the win? That makes sense. I like that, but I like that. I like what you're saying, and I kind of want to change my pick. But Rhea Ripley is one of their absolute top stars, and
But she doesn't need the win then.
When was her last big win? Going back to you need dubs. I think she needs a dub. I think she actually needs a dub here, or she's going to be in a pretty long drought of meaningful wins. Because I can't think of the last big one she got. That was like I think since she lost the title, she's done a lot of stuff backstage and had some small wins. But what was her last big one?
She won that match that Zoe Stark got injured in.
Was that a big one though?
I mean, it was on TV. What was that match for? It was for the.
If we don't know, it probably wasn't that big.
I forget. Like, I know it wasn't for Queen of the Rain. Was it for like to determine the IC? I don't remember.
But in any case, so we're split there. Ricky Sinclair says Rhea doesn't need the win right now. I always say people say they don't need the win until suddenly it's too late. And suddenly there's people who haven't won in a long time.
Especially with Liv being gone and so much was going to be revolved around her. The rumor was EO versus Liv was planned for Night of Champions. And obviously Liv versus, the Bellas in some way at Night of Champions or at Evolution. But I feel like not just Rhea doesn't need it. I feel like Judgment Day and kind of continuing the momentum that Liv was going to be on now needs to get carried over to Raquel and somehow Roxanne. I feel like that's going to kind of be defeating Rhea is going to, create a bigger bond for Roxanne and Raquel and tell that story.
Danny says win by DQ. It's street fight,
Yeah,
so there's
street
no
fight.
DQs. Which is also why I don't think Roxanne getting involved is going to tip the scales because it's too easy that she can get involved. But we are split there. We will see as we move on to Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa for the U.S. title. This one finally kicking off. George, the bloodline is splintering yet again.
It's like NWO Hollywood, get a civil war between them. I'm a little torn with this one as well because I feel like Solo needs he's a guy that needs the win, a guy that's been on the main roster for like almost 3 years and hasn't even had a WrestleMania match. It would be
That is a
interesting.
wild stat, by the
Yeah,
way,
it should.
considering what he's done and where he's been.
Oh, you know what's a wild tattoo is Razor Ramon. He was in WWF for a while. Was never in a Royal Rumble match.
Hmm.
Never in a Royal Rumble match. Um, yeah, but because like I like what Solo's. He's a guy, and we say this about Chelsea Green. We say this about so many people that very much so maximizing the minutes or the seconds. So Solo is doing that on a regular basis, and he's got this like. I'm not saying he's a comedic wrestler, but he has these like things that he does that's like man like solo is great to watch on TV. I I as much as I want to see him win, I don't see the momentum slowing on Jacob Fatu, but I also don't see the storyline ending. Maybe this one might be the DQ finish. uh if there is a DQ finish, it probably will be, you know, Jacob by DQ, and or maybe solo by DQ, and then they'll get a rematch like Saturday Night's Main Event or something. um my final prediction is going to be solo by DQ.
Uh, so Jacob Fatu is going to cheat to win, and then he'll keep the title.
I think Solo, yeah,
So so Solo, if Solo wins by DQ, that means
I think Solo will provoke Jacob enough where Jacob just goes on a rampage and starts hitting him with chairs and tables and chairs and barricades and turbines.
oh, we are way off here because I think Solo Sikoa wins.
So we
And I
both
think
think he
he
wins.
well, I think he wins the U.S.
He was a
title. I
US
think he
title.
walks away with the U.S. title by hook or by crook. I don't know if it'll be a squeaky clean win, but he'll walk away with the title.
The Tongas come back.
Possibly someone comes back, but I would say Solo Sikoa. I believe that if Solo Sikoa came to the main roster with the character he is today, he would be one of the most popular characters on TV. But because he was the silent killer and then suddenly switched to this, it never really sat well with a lot of people. I think if he was kind of the guy that wore the bright suits and was kind of obnoxious while he was in the bloodline, if he was like the obnoxious little brother and then became this guy, I think we'd be so on board with Solo Sikoa. I think it's just now it's taking time to get used to this version of him. I think we're getting around to it.
Maybe we'll see Jimmy accidentally super kick Solo, or he won't accidentally, but he'll like super kick Solo. The ref sees it, you know. Then maybe Jacob and Jimmy have like a something.
Well, in any case, I think the story's got to continue, and I think Jacob Fatu winning doesn't continue the story, and I think that Jacob Fatu winning doesn't really go anywhere next. And it's just like, okay, who's the next U.S. champion contender? Where Solo winning gives Jacob Fatu a chance to hunt for the title. And I think a hunting Jacob Fatu is going to be fascinating television. The match that jumps off the screen at me, the one that I'm very fascinated, this one actually might be the one I'm most fascinated for. The Queen of the Ring final, Asuka versus Jade Cargill. George, Jade's been in WWE for a while now. But this still feels like I'm using 2K to build and create a fantasy matchup. Asuka versus Jade Cargill. We're getting that. That's crazy. Who do you got in this one?
So there's two scenarios that are going to happen, or one of each is going to happen to set up SummerSlam. We're going to see either Asuka defeat Jade, and then we're going to see Asuka versus Io at SummerSlam, which would be great. I don't think we've ever. I mean, I think we've seen like glimpses of it. As long as they have like a promo battle one more time, like we saw a couple years ago, which would be great. Or we're going to see Jade win. Then during Jade and Tiffany at SummerSlam, Naomi's going to pull a Seth Rollins and then cash in during the match when it looks like Jade was going to win, and then she's going to end up winning. Either way, I do think Naomi's going to end up being champion within a month or two, or within 2 months. With that said, I'm going to go with Asuka. I feel like there was that graphic. I don't know if she put it up or WWE put it up of just all her accomplishments that she's had. And I'm like, oh my god, like this woman is like decorated, right? This is like Miz level decoration of accolades, and nothing would be better putting that exclamation point to her career than having a Queen of the Ring stat.
Yeah, this one is really hard to pick because I agree with you across the board. Everything you're seeing, I'm seeing, and I think both of them as Queen of the Ring just it hits so hard. Jade in the crown, I think would be
Mhm.
fantastic. Asuka with the crown would be fantastic. I think the matchup, Io, it's really tough. It's really tough. So I'm just going to go with my heart, and I'm going to go with Asuka because I agree with you. I think she's one of the all-time greats, and I think she will be considered one of the best of all time when all is said and done. And I want to see her rack up those accolades. And as Ricky Sinclair says, nobody is ready for Asuka. Danny says Asuka needs to turn heel to win. I don't think so. Do you think she has to turn heel to win, George?
No, no. She's I mean, as shown as her as a reaction she's been getting, like she's so loved by the universe. Yeah, I don't she doesn't need to turn heel.
She's another person that I think if she's trying to be a bad guy, I'm like, I don't believe you. We love you. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like, and if she does something evil, I'm like, good. They deserved it. I'm still on your side. You know what I mean? Um, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Something that could be this could be a WrestleMania
Mhm.
match, George. This one is I mean, the fact that we're getting this as not even a main event is insane to me. Obviously, the main event should be the main event, but Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, King of the Ring final. What do you think?
I'm sure we're gonna see something on SmackDown, but I honestly wish there was like a longer build because Cody and Randy Orton has got literally like 16, 17 years of history, right? Going back to Legacy, which I think started in 2008. And then
Mhm.
they had that triple threat match at WrestleMania 26 from Phoenix, which I thought was one of the best matches of the night. And then you have, but that Cody is a different Cody than what we see today. Even Randy
Mhm.
Orton. Randy Orton is like a different Randy Orton than he is today. Similar, but he's looks like he's having a lot more fun these days, But I'd like I'm sure we're gonna see something on SmackDown with the two in the ring, building up the match. But this is one thing where it's like I honestly have no idea on who's gonna win. Um, I'm gonna go with my heart like you, and I'm just gonna go with because we saw it already. I don't think we're gonna see Orton and Cena at SummerSlam. I think we're gonna see the rematch of Cody and John Cena at SummerSlam, which means Cody's gonna be King of the Ring.
Ricky says, "I want Randy to win, but Cody wins somehow, some way."
And
I
then with that said, sorry, I don't see Randy challenging Gunther. Like I just don't see that happening. So I feel like it's gonna be Cody.
yeah, I think I agree with you. I think my thought is Cody wins. One, Cody is getting accoladed up. I think he's gonna win a little bit of everything throughout his career. I think he's gonna win this. He's gonna win. He's won the Royal Rumble already twice. He's main event WrestleMania. He's gonna get everything. I think he's gonna win this one, and I would love to see Randy Orton versus Cena one more time. But also, I look at how many dates John Cena has left.
Yeah.
He does not have many, and that means we have no time for just funsies. Let's see it one more time. Let's run it back. We don't have time for that. And my prediction, I can't get too far ahead of myself here, but let's get past this next prediction, and then I'll say why I think Cody Rhodes wins. But we get to the main event. CM Punk, John Cena, WWE title in Saudi Arabia. Thoughts about this one? Thoughts about CM Punk in Saudi Arabia, and thoughts of this championship match and who's going to win it.
Anybody out there on the internet, I don't usually put energy in this, calling CM Punk like a hypocrite or whatever, like they just need to grow up. Like seriously, grow up, get a new hobby, get a life, whatever. Um, and I know there's a lot of conflict now. Now we're not going to get into that, but just to see what Saudi Arabia has done from their first show where it featured no women, and now we're seeing like two women's matches. So I feel like the fact that there's been some progress, a lot of progress, and when it comes to WWE events, and there's a lot of other things that are going on, and with as far as entertainment and sports shows and whatnot in that country. So again, like CM Punk, like I apologize on their behalf, even though I don't feel the same way. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun. I think he's going to embrace it. I'm sure the paycheck will be nice. I feel like we're going to see some cool, a very very fun and cool promo on SmackDown since he didn't respond to Cena's promo on Raw. So I feel like we're going to see his rebuttal on SmackDown. I think he's going to have his own little pipe bomb on that show. I just hope it's a good match. That's all I really care about. I mean, I think Cena wins, but I think, especially with how, I don't know if it's their last match they've had, but if it is that one on Monday Night Raw, where Cena defeated him, and then Punk busted out a power driver during the match. But then going back to the Money in the Bank matches, going back to their SummerSlam matches, like I really hope that this one is able to. We can talk about this match the same way we talk about their other matches, because they both think very highly of each other. I'm sure Punk says he's probably one of the most the best guys he's been in the ring with. I'm sure Sheamus feels the same. So yeah, I just want to see a good match. I don't care if Cena cheats to win, whatever. I just want to see a good match. Yeah. So for all we know, we're going to see a swerve, and Punk and Orton are going to win, and they're going to go out of SummerSlam. But I think it's going to be Cody and John Cena at SummerSlam for the WWE Championship.
I agree with you. I think that John Cena gets to win. And I echo look, I'm never going to judge anyone for doing what they can to make a buck, as long as they're not hurting someone themselves. Yeah. So, look, whatever. I don't hold it against CM Punk. But, and obviously, I hope everyone's safe over there. There's a lot of issues over there. I think John Cena wins here. I think John Cena, because it also tells a little bit of the story. CM Punk had to sell, quote unquote, sell out to get the opportunity to then come up short, I think is a real story that CM Punk can live with, especially if they come up short at WrestleMania, for the WrestleMania as well. To not get that, I think both those things are things that will really help drive that character forward. But CM Punk, I think CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, I think Cody Rhodes beats John Cena at SummerSlam.
I think so too.
And I think the final dates of John Cena are John Cena redeeming himself from this arc he's been on. And I think that those matches will be a lot more personal, a lot more fun than they are tied to the World Championship. And I think he gets a fun, happy send-off instead of being evil John Cena, and losing and being thwarted as his last time on TV. I don't think that's the way we want to end John Cena's career. We don't want to end John Cena's career, everyone cheering that he lost and saying, get out of here. We want to end it in a, thank you, Cena chant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would have I like that he's the 17-time world champion, but I kind of wish it was like a quick title reign, because I don't like knowing that pretty much every match that he's been in for the last 2-3 months, he's winning them all. We knew that Randy Orton isn't going to become WWE champion a month after Cena is champion. So I would have liked to maybe him have some kind of run as not a champion, because I feel like it adds a lot more unpredictability of who's going to go over. If we see a John Cena, AJ Styles one more time, oh, I don't know who's going to go over. It's non-title. I don't know. Anybody can win. And they can go along with okay, well, I lost this one, but I'm probably going to win the next one. And then maybe see that a little bit more when he's not champion.
Yeah. Well, that is the show. Everyone, let us know what you think in the comments. George, this was fun. Thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone in the comments, again, like, comment, share, subscribe, 5-star review. Do it for Flobo Boyce. George, what else?
It's his birthday. It is his birthday. Happy birthday, Flobo Boyce. I'm sure you're watching, or you're probably not, or else you're
47 years old, Flobo Boyce.
Oh wow, he's our age.
I'm at least 20 years younger than Flobo.
Yeah, he looks
great. Me and Siobhan Evans are about the same age, I think.
If that's the case, Flobo looks great. I guess it is true, right?
What's that?
No. You can follow me at Wrestling Chatter, the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. I put up some fun stuff. I've been putting up little clips of the legendary Buff Bagwell interview from about a year ago with Jack Farmer and Buff Bagwell. Little clips and little tidbits of his career, talking about his action figure, talking about which Buff Bagwell look is the most iconic one. I think he said the top hat and overalls, right?
I don't know which one he said, but I told him he was wrong, and no, wait, yeah, which one did he say? I remember one of
I thought he said the red top hat with the overalls.
One of my favorite interview moments was when I asked him his opinion on something, and I told him his opinion was wrong. You guys gotta watch the interview.
Yeah, watch it and let us know what you think. But then you can follow me at Hermoza, GHERMOZA. Hopefully, I'll put up some more fun content coming up in the near future.
Yes, and you can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media to follow on what I'm doing. You can check me out on Championship Wrestling. Our next taping is on July 1st. So you can check that out if you're in Southern California. Otherwise, check local listing for showtimes. That does it for us, folks. Until next time, Flobo usually has me sign off, but George, why don't you sign off this time while I frantically look for the outro video?
Oh, I was gonna say it's time to make my mama's cornbread dressing. Seriously, we should like just get together and just make some of this. It's probably gonna be horrible, but you know what? It's
George,
content.
it's got to be a sign off. You got to end it with a button. You can't ramble on. You got to hit us with a button. Hit us with like
For draped in gold, or do you ever say dig? For dig,
we say dig in. Hashtag dig in.
Hashtag dig in. This is Jack and George, or as I like to say, Farmer and Farmer.